Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Digital Painting Art Show. My name is Jesus Conde. Please subscribe. Today we're going to be doing a game icon, and I really hope you like it because we have a lot of special effects things going on with the Photoshop. We're going to be painting details, and we're going to be looking at some of the sketching progress. So let's get started. Okay, so because we're going to do an icon, we're going to work on totally square format, like every side have to be the same size. So the first thing that I want you to use here is to duplicate layers. So we're going to be just dragging our layers to this button that you can see down here. Just duplicate the layer and rotate to get the same thing just in the other side. Now I'm going to duplicate again and we're going to scale. But for scale, I want you guys to use the shift button, because when you use the shift button you block all the corners and they get scale like the same size. So we're going to be using a lot of that. I created a new layer now, and I'm sketching this other piece. And just duplicate, copy, rotate it, and put it up there in the other corner. It's the same process for everything that I'm going to do. I'm going to do the same thing. Remember that if you use the selection tool, you need to have show transform controls activated, because that way you can scale things. If not, you don't have that activated, you won't be able to scale things. You won't see the little gizmos at the edges. The shape is really easy to use. Just you can use the shape button, the shape icon. You can create circles, you can create squares, but they are vectorial shapes, so I'm just using it for reference. So that's why I just made a circle. Now I'm drawing on top of it. Right now I'm sketching some piece that is supposed to kind of hold this kind of ball that is in the middle. And I'm doing that in another layer, of course, a layer on top. And as you can see, all the things that I'm doing the same thing exactly all over again. I'm just drawing this piece, then I'm going to copy the layer or duplicate the layer, and you're also going to rotate and put it on the other side. So this icon is kind of based on the icon of the game of Blizzard, one called Stoneheart, if I remember correctly. And I was kind of looking for the same thing. I mean, like, no copying it, but trying to get the same feeling with the colors or something like that. So that's what I was aiming for. So you can see that now that I got this piece, I just copy the piece and put it on the other side. I need it to be really symmetrical. At some point I decided to put another detail on one of the corners to make it less symmetrical, but at least it looks like it's not the corners are just the same thing. They are perfect. So you can see here is the finished sketch, and now I'm just doing the line art. The line art is very important because the most time you spend on the line art, you probably will figure out some other stuff. While you do the line art, you can think about what colors are you going to use later, where's the lighting going to be, some details that you didn't think of, you're adding it. So the people that follows me, they know that I like to spend a lot of time doing the line arts, and they are really complex sometimes, and I really like to take my time doing them, because I think it adds a lot to the final painting, I mean. So for me it's really important, this part of the process. You can get a lot of texture. I wanted to do some kind of like a symbol in the middle, but I wasn't sure what exactly to do, so I just started to sketch a lot. These are some of the versions of those sketches. They are really, I wanted you guys to see the whole struggling, trying to get the shape, which I don't know what shape is going to be exactly, but that's because I don't have any story or background story or something, and I don't even suppose this icon to be about, so maybe having that will be a little bit easier. So I end up with this kind of tree shape thing, and then I just flip it to the other side. So the thing about the line art is just make it with time and do it kind of slowly. So I end up doing this kind of like a E, but weird looking. So now we're going to do the basic coloring. So it's just taking the colors that you want to apply on this and just fill every part of the piece as you want with the color that you want. It's that simple. What I did here is I didn't like the colors too much, so I changed them using going to image adjustments and hue and saturation and changing the brightness a little. I'm going to get more in detail of that in few seconds later. But basically that's what I did. I did the same here with the purple piece, and I did the same with everything. After I apply the color, of course it has to be in another layer. After I apply the color, what I do is check if I like it or not and change it, do the changes that I want to do. So now I just decide where the light is going to come from, and I just copy the layer, make it lighter, and then what I'm going to do is erase the layer that's going to be on top, which is the darker version of it. And what I'm going to get when I erase is the highlights. You could do it the other way, like doing the dark instead of the light, but I like this way the best. I don't know why. And after that, what I did is just apply another color, more brighter color. So I just took with the eyedropper, which is the letter I on the keyboard, and just made a little bit more with more saturation. And yeah, basically something more colorful because I wanted to do it more cartoonish looking. And I did the same technique again of the brightness and contrast, changing the brightness of the layer with the purple part. So I just copied the layer of the, well, here I'm actually making a shadow. We're going to get into detail with that too in a few seconds. I just wanted you to see the whole process first, so you know what we're going to be talking about. And I did it this way. I didn't do it with the effects, even that I'm going to explain you how to do it with the effects. I didn't do it with it this time because I needed to erase the edge. So you cannot do that with the effects, or if you do, I don't know how to. So I just work with what I know at the moment. Right now, I did the same thing that I did with the golden piece. Just make the brighter the thing that was on the bottom, the layer that was on the bottom, and erase the ones on the top. Here I'm using the dodge tool, which is this icon right there. The dodge tool, which what does is burns with light, and you have to be aware that when you use the dodge tool you have highlights on. When it says range, you put highlights because the normal is in midtones. And what is going to happen is that if you use it in midtones, you're going to get like a wider version of the same color, not the really light version of the same color. It doesn't look the same. You can test it out if you want. And here, what I'm doing right now is actually not that important because I'm just testing a lot of stuff. So trying to find something to start from. Like I need a starting point, really solid starting point. And right now I'm just doing a little bit of effects. I'm going to explain that too in a few seconds. It's really easy though. Yeah, I'm going to get into detail in a few seconds with that, with the effects and the shadows and everything. But I wanted you guys to see the whole thing, and now we're going to clear out those doubts that you may have. So okay, let's talk about all that. First we're going to be talking about that change of brightness that we talked. So basically what I did is just copy the layer right there, duplicate the layer, and go to image adjustments, and you can change the brightness. So in the tutorial I was doing it just a lighter version of it, so that's what I'm going to do. So go to image adjustments, brightness and contrast, and there we go. I have the lighter version. I just put it under the other layer that I had, and what I'm going to do is erase. I'm going to erase the whatever I want to, like a texture or something. I'm just going to erase that. What I want that to look, what I want to see, that what I did on the bottom, which is making lighter. It could be whatever. It could be something else. It could be changing the color of that layer. But what I did is just change it to something lighter. So that's basically what I did. Just copy the layer, change the brightness with image adjustments, brightness and contrast, and then I just put it on the bottom and I'm erasing. It's really easy to follow. The other thing I did was changing the color, which you can just do the same thing. Just duplicate, go to image adjustments, hue and saturation. You can see it there, hue and saturation, and you can change the color right there, the hue. You also have saturation control, less saturated, more saturated, and lightness control, which is lightness will give you what you need to know to make the shadow. Now, so that's what we're going to do now. So basically I'm just trying to copy the layers every time I can, so I don't mess up anything. So I just go into hue and saturation and put lightness completely off, really dark. And now what I'm going to do is just go to filter, blur, and go to Gaussian Blur, and you have this kind of, it makes everything soft. If you put it on the bottom, what you see is this. Okay, now because I have auto select activated, it gets some mistakes, but if you deactivate that, you can select the shadow with no problem. You just have to click it on the layers, and then you just can move it. That's it. So you can see how easy it is to make a shadow, even if you're not using the effects of Photoshop. It's really easy to do. Now I needed the shadows only on the center and erase the shadows on the edge, so that's what I'm doing here too. So you can see kind of why I did it. If you do the same thing, the shadow thing with the effects, you won't be able to do this, I think. If you do, I think it will be way too complicated than to do it this way. So that's why I did it this way. And you can see now only shadows in the center and none on the edge. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to talk about the effects. And in this icon right here that says FX, you click and you get this kind of like a panel with all the effects that you can use. So we're going to start with drop shadows, and you can just try all the settings that you have. So the first one is the distance. If you change the distance, you can see how it changes exactly that, the distance between the object and the shadow. The size, you can change the size, and the spread. What is going to happen with the spread is that if you change the size, you see that it gets bigger, but if you change the spreading, what it gets is going to kind of like a grow until the edge of the size. So you can actually get really cool effects there if you're doing something else. But for this, I don't really like the result because it's supposed to be kind of real or something. So what else? We got the opacity, which is really important. You want to control the opacity, and the angle, of course. If you put the angle from here, you can see the shadow if the light comes from that way. If you put it here, you can see the the light coming from that side, and go on. So, and the blending mode, you can use it in different blending modes. If you put normal, you're just going to see the color that you're using. But if you're using the same color and put multiply, for example, you're going to get another completely different effect, which is getting everything dark with that color. So you can just try out a lot of different effects. The next one, just copy this layer. The next one will be the glow. So there's inner glow and outer glow. They're basically the same, just one is inwards and the other one is out. So I'm going to use the out one, and I used a blue one for the ball, so that's what I'm using, a blue color, and then change the size. And that's basically all that you need to know, because the blending mode is in a screen. It's going to burn with light everything that is under. You can use linear dodge too, same thing as add in other applications. That's the one I prefer the most. Screen, I didn't use it too much. Then I saw my teacher using it and explaining it why, and it's because it gives you kind of like a wider range of colors and values, while the add one, what it does is burns everything. The spreading here, it works the same as in the shadow, and the size works exactly the same as in the shadow, so there's not too much to talk about in there. And the other effects that I want you guys to know is making a glow by your own. So I'm going to use a really soft brush for that. Let me just copy another layer. Just going to take one of the colors with the eyedropper. Remember, you can use the eyedropper with the letter I on the keyboard, and just do one click or one tap with the tablet, with the Wacom pencil, and that's what you get. You get this color really soft, and just put it on a screen, and there you go, with the little glow made by hand. It's not an effect, you just made it by hand. I think it's gives you really good results for what it is. It's a really cheap and easy and fast effect. So this is it about the effects. Let's continue with the tutorial. Okay, so from now on, what we're going to do is just clean our stuff. Just what we want to do here is, well, right here I'm going to do some shadows, because I didn't have too much dark things going on in my piece. But what I want you to get concentrate now is, okay, now that you have all this information right here, what you're going to do is just take the eyedropper everywhere you can and try to figure out where the lights are going to be, where the shadows are going to be, kind of like in better. But you're going to spread your talents in all the image, all the composition. I don't want you guys to focus on one thing. So, because this is not the detailing part of the process. The detailing is the last thing you want to think about. Right now, what you want to do is get everything straight with your lighting and your colors. So the detailing part is the most fun and easy. Is the one that you don't have to think too much. You just can put some music and just go and do some detail. But this one is the part that you have to think the most, and the most expensive in terms of your mind. So you should give it all your attention to get everything right. So what I want you to do is just get everything right. Just click on the colors. I'm using blue because of the blue lighting that's coming from the center and stuff like that. I did some lines on the edges because I really like how it looked in the stone heart icon. And once you have all this information, new information, like now you have your image locked, or your values are locked in, everything is ready, you can now start with the details. And I'm going to explain you a technique that I use that it worked for me. I don't know if it works for YouTube, but I just explaining how it is, what it is about, and it's really easy. It's basically just go to once you have this ready, go to Google and look for a grid, and you just copy the grid. Just write grid on Google, copy that, put it in your image like a multiply kind of blending mode, and just paint. Here I took 7 minutes per each square, so that means I cannot get out of that square until I get the full 7 minutes done. Depending on how complex your image is, you can use a really small grid with the same amount of time, or you can use bigger squares with a lot more of time. But the bigger squares are more for when you not sure what to do exactly. You can still have a bit of changes. Here I'm doing the detailing, and I just wanted you to see one square, complete process of the one square at 30% of opacity. I started with 5 minutes because I didn't know how much it was going to take. After this first square, I realized I needed 7 minutes to get a really good or decent result with the time of painting. So 7 minutes was enough to finish one square. I can do all the other squares in the same amount of time, but I will recommend that you do one square first. You can choose the most difficult one and time that. You can use a timer to get how much time you spend doing that, just that one square, and then you're going to repeat the process in all the other squares with that same amount of time. It's really important to lock that layer with the grid, because if you paint on top of the grid, you're screwed. But you should notice when you do. Anyway, right now I'm painting under, so you can see how I'm trying to put little details as much as I can, and you can see the whole thing in the Patreon. I put the video on the Patreon, and you can have it there with the PSD. You can have the PSD too, and you can do whatever you want with that image, with the logo. I don't mind. Just tell me later, hey, I use it in this, and just tag me on Instagram or whatever you want, DeviantArt, Facebook, whatever. But just tell me, alright? You can use it in whatever you want, in your games or whatever. And right now I'm just tweaking a little bit. I'm just changing the lightness and contrast, putting more saturation, doing the final finishing touches. I'm going to do the glow that I told you about here, right here, to the same color, and just tap the Wacom, and there we go. And I changed the color a little bit. I changed the color. I went to here. I'm changing the size. Remember to change the size with Shift button to get all the size the same, all the corners. And right here I'm changing the color a little. I'm taking down some lightness and put it up some saturation, and changing the color to more deep blue color. Now I'm going to apply a little bit of more detail on the ball. Here I'm putting a shadow under everything, and let's see. This is it. I think this is already done. I hope you like this tutorial, and remember, the Patreon account is really I just put every tutorial that I do, I just put the PSD and the full process video. The full process video don't have any audio, but it's the full process completely from when I started to finish, the whole process recorded. And it's actually sometimes it's more than 1 hour video. This one is just 1 hour, and you can download it in my Patreon account just for $2 monthly, and you will receive every weekend. You will receive all my PSDs and the videos every weekend. And if you don't want to get into a Patreon account and you still want to support this channel, what you can do is get a skin tutorial. The skin tutorial I did a few months ago. It's kind of like a really complete package. It comes with all the liners, all the skin tone palettes, all the textures that I use. Is a guide of 20 pages explaining everything, like from 0 to N, how to paint a skin. Because a lot of people were asking me, is there kind of like a recipe to painting a skin good? And so I put this together. I think it's really good. Like, you can learn a lot of stuff from it, and you can also learn how to paint beard. So it is a guide that comes with 20 pages and 2 videos of 1 hour each, and you could learn a lot from it. I mean, a lot of people have thanked me because of the material is good. So you can get it in my Gumroad account or Selfie if you don't have that way of paying. You can do it with PayPal in the Selfie account, or you can get the PSDs and everything else that I do every week in the Patreon. So thank you very much for your attention, your patience. Please share, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much. See you next week.